The banishment. The stars had never looked so ominous. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of the International Orbital Station, watching as the alien vessels positioned themselves around Earth. Their hulls gleamed with an iridescent blue-green that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "They're moving into standard orbital formation," said Commander Marcus Chen, his voice tight as he studied the tactical display. 17 capital ships, each one carrying enough firepower to glass a continent. Elena nodded, trying to maintain her composure. As Earth's leading xenolinguist and the head of the First Contact Team, she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. 6 months ago, when humanity had achieved its first successful faster-than-light jump, they had unknowingly triggered silent alarms that had stood vigil in the Sol system for millennia. 3 days later, the Galactic Council had arrived. "Council representatives will dock in 20 minutes, Elena said, straightening her formal uniform. "The president is on his way up from Geneva now." Marcus's dark eyes never left the display. "Do you think they'll listen to reason this time?" Elena didn't answer immediately. The initial meetings had not gone well. The Council, a collective of 12 species that governed most of the known galaxy, had been clear about their concerns. Humans were deemed unpredictably aggressive and dangerously innovative. Their pace of technological development was classified as destabilizing to galactic harmony. "We have to make them understand," she finally said. "Humans aren't a threat, we just want to join the galactic community." The Council delegation arrived with typical precision. The 3 primary representatives entered the station's conference room. Valara, a tall, willowy being with 6 limbs and silver skin that rippled like water. Krith, who resembled a massive arthropod with complex mandibles that clicked when they spoke, and Xenax, whose gaseous form was contained within an environmental suit, only their glowing eyes visible through the visor. "Dr. Reyes, Commander Chen," Valara said, her voice melodic despite the tension. "We have reviewed your petition again. The Council's decision remains unchanged." President Li Wei, who had arrived moments before, stepped forward. "Surely there's room for discussion. We've provided evidence of our peaceful intentions, our cultural achievements. Your achievements are precisely what concern us," interrupted Krith, mandibles clicking rapidly. "No species in Council records has moved from atmospheric flight to faster-than-light travel in less than a century. The pattern analysis is conclusive." "What pattern?" Elena asked, frustration creeping into her voice. Xenax's eyes pulsed softly as they spoke. "Species that develop too quickly invariably destroy themselves or others. It is the great filter that few overcome. Your own history provides ample evidence of your volatility." "We've learned from our mistakes," Marcus said firmly. "Humanity hasn't engaged in global conflict for over 50 years. A moment in evolutionary time," Valara dismissed with a wave of her upper limbs. "The Council's decision is final. For the safety of the galactic community, humanity will be contained within the Sol system until such time as your species demonstrates sufficient stability, which our models suggest will require approximately 5,000 years. The room fell silent. 5,000 years of quarantine, a prison sentence for an entire species. "And if we refuse?" President Li asked quietly. Krith's mandibles stilled. "Refusal is not an option. The containment field will be activated in 48 Earth hours. Any attempt to breach it will result in immediate security protocols." "Security protocols?" Marcus pressed. "Planetary sterilization," Xenax stated flatly. "We do not wish for this outcome, but the Council will not risk the spread of an unstable species." After the Council representatives departed, Elena, Marcus, and President Li gathered with Earth's Security Council in an emergency session. The situation was dire. Scans had already detected the Council ships deploying massive structures at the edge of the solar system. The framework for the containment field. "We can't fight them," General Santos said, reviewing the military assessment. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours. A direct confrontation would be suicide." "Then we accept." "Imprisonment?" demanded the Russian representative. 5,000 years while the rest of the galaxy passes us by? Elena had been quiet, her mind racing. Not all of us have to accept it, she said suddenly. Everyone turned to her. The Phoenix. Marcus immediately understood. It could work. The Phoenix was Earth's second FTL-capable vessel, nearing completion, in a secret facility beneath the lunar surface. Unlike its predecessor, it had been designed for long-duration missions, with hydroponics, recycling systems, and cryogenic chambers. One ship? President Lee looked skeptical. What good would that do? Seeds, Elena said simply. Seeds of humanity planted beyond their reach. If we can't fight now, we prepare for the future. The plan came together in frantic secrecy. The Phoenix would carry 2,000 people, scientists, engineers, soldiers, farmers, doctors, and a genetic bank containing diverse human DNA, seeds, embryos, and a comprehensive database of human knowledge. They would escape before the containment field activated, then travel as far from Council space as possible. Meanwhile, Earth would seem to accept the Council's terms, buying time for the Phoenix to escape. The final night before launch, Elena stood in the Phoenix's cargo bay, surrounded by cryogenic chambers. Each would hold a sleeping human for the long journey ahead. Having second thoughts? Marcus asked, joining her. No, she said firmly, but I'm afraid for those we're leaving behind. Marcus nodded grimly. The Council doesn't understand humans. We don't accept cages, not for long. Earth will find a way, eventually. And when they do, we'll be waiting, Elena said. Or our children will. You should get some rest, Marcus said. Tomorrow will be the most important day in human history, one way or another. Elena looked at him, her expression resolute. I'm not going, Marcus. What? Shock registered on his face. Someone needs to stay behind, to work from within, to find the weaknesses in their containment field, to prepare Earth for when the Phoenix returns. She placed a hand on his arm. You're going to lead them, Marcus. You're going to keep our people safe out there among the stars. Before he could argue, she continued, The Council will be watching me closely after the quarantine begins. I've been Earth's primary contact. They expect me to remain. If I suddenly disappear, they might suspect something. Marcus started to object, but deep down, he knew she was right. The mission needed her here and him there. The Phoenix launched during a solar flare that temporarily blinded the Council's sensors. By the time they realized what had happened, the ship had already made its first FTL jump. The Council ships gave chase, but the Phoenix's course had been plotted through a series of gravitational slingshots that eventually flung it beyond the reach of their pursuers. 48 hours later, the containment field activated. A shimmering barrier encircled the entire solar system, detectable only when something touched it. Earth was officially quarantined. In a final message to the Council, Elena delivered humanity's response. You may have confined our bodies, but never our spirits. Humanity will remember this day, and one day, whether it takes 100 years or 5,000, we will be free among the stars. That is a promise. On Earth, the populations reacted with predictable anger and despair, but under the surface, a quiet determination took hold. If they couldn't leave the solar system, they would master it completely. Mars, Venus, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, every rock and ice ball became a potential home, a chance to expand and prepare, and deep in secret facilities around the globe, scientists began studying the containment field, searching for any weakness that might one day lead to freedom. The stars had never looked so distant, but humanity had never been more determined to reach them again. The return 200 years passed. The Phoenix had traveled further than its creators could have imagined, its crew cycling through generations of births, lives, and deaths in the vastness between stars. Captain Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the warship Vindication, the flagship of the return fleet. At 35, she commanded the most powerful human vessel ever constructed. In her veins flowed the blood of Marcus Chen, her ancestor who had led the exodus from Earth. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the gravity of the moment. Commander Eli Reyes, her second-in-command and himself a descendant of the original mission planners, responded immediately. "All ships report ready, Captain. The jump calculations are complete. We can commence Operation Homecoming on your order." Zara nodded, taking a moment to appreciate the enormity of what they were about to attempt. The return fleet consisted of 50 vessels, each built with technology far beyond what the Phoenix had carried from Earth. 2 centuries of desperate innovation had transformed the exiles from refugees into a formidable force. "Open a channel to all ships," she said. Once the comm officer signaled readiness, Zara addressed the fleet. "This is Captain Chen. 200 years ago, our ancestors were driven from their home, declared too dangerous to join the Galactic community. Today, we return to Sol not just as the children of Earth, but as its liberators." She paused, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "The intelligence we've gathered has confirmed our worst fears. The Galactic Council hasn't merely been containing potential rivals. They've been systematically eliminating them. 43 emerging civilizations have been sterilized in the past millennium alone. Earth has survived only because the Council deemed total quarantine less risky than genocide. We carry with us not just weapons, but truth. Not just force, but justice. Commence jump sequence. Let's go home." Across the fleet, advanced drives engaged, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. The ships slipped through, crossing light years in moments, using technology the Council had never mastered. The return fleet emerged at the edge of the Sol system, beyond the range of the containment field's sensors. What they found surprised even the most optimistic among them. The space within the quarantine zone teemed with activity. Orbital habitats circled every major body in the system. Mars glowed with city lights. Massive structures orbited Jupiter and Saturn, harvesting energy and resources. Earth might have been caged, but it had transformed its prison into a fortress. "Multiple contacts approaching," reported the tactical officer. "Earth vessels. They've detected us." "Hail them," Zara ordered. "Standard greeting protocol." Moments later, the view screen activated, showing the face of an aging woman in a military uniform adorned with unfamiliar insignia. Her eyes widened at the sight of Zara. "This is Admiral Helena Novak of the Earth Defense Force. Identify yourselves immediately." Zara stepped forward. "Admiral, I am Captain Zara Chen of the Return Fleet. We are the descendants of the Phoenix mission. We've come home." Silence fell across the bridge as the Admiral processed this information. Finally she spoke, her voice tight with emotion. "The Phoenix. After all this time, we had hoped, but never truly believed." "We have much to discuss, Admiral," Zara said, "and not much time. The Galactic Council must be confronted." Within hours, the return fleet had been escorted through a carefully hidden gap in the containment field, a weakness that Earth scientists had discovered decades ago but had kept secret, using it only for short-range reconnaissance. In the grandiose meeting hall of the lunar colony, Zara and her officers met with Earth's leadership. The reunion was both joyous and tense, as 2 branches of humanity, separated for centuries, came to terms with how differently they had evolved. The exiles had changed during their long journey. Living in space for generations had altered them. Many, like Zara, possessed enhanced vision adapted to low light, denser bone structure to combat long-term exposure to artificial gravity, and neural adaptations that allowed for direct interface with their technology. Earth humans, meanwhile, had remained physically similar to their ancestors, but had developed their own unique technologies focused on sustainability, stealth, and resource efficiency, necessities for a civilization trapped in a single star system. Dr. Thomas Park, Earth's leading expert on the containment field, explained their situation. "We've been studying the field since it was erected. It's powerful but not impenetrable. The real challenge has been finding a way to bring it down without alerting the Council." "We may not need to be subtle anymore," Zara replied. "Our fleet carries weapons specifically designed to target the field generators." Admiral Novak leaned forward. Even if we bring down the field, we'd be facing the entire Council fleet. Our simulations suggest—" "Your simulations don't account for what we've become," interrupted Commander Reyes, "or for what we've discovered." He activated a holographic display showing a star map. "These are the locations of ancient artifacts the Council uses for their FTL network. They didn't develop the technology themselves, they discovered it and have jealously guarded it for millennia. Our drives don't rely on this network," Zara added. "We developed our own method of faster-than-light travel, and we've learned how to disrupt theirs." A new plan formed. The Earth Defense Force would combine with the return fleet to assault the containment field generators. Meanwhile, special teams would deploy to key locations throughout Council space to disable their FTL network, temporarily crippling their ability to respond with their full force. When the Council inevitably arrived with the ships they had nearby, they would face a united human fleet with technologies they couldn't counter. 3 days later, the assault began. The containment field fell in spectacular fashion as targeted energy weapons from the return fleet overloaded the generators. Immediately, the nearest Council monitoring stations triggered alarms and response ships began to appear. "Council vessels approaching," announced the tactical officer aboard the Vindication, which now served as the command center for the combined human fleet. "Right on schedule," Zara said calmly. "Are our disruptor teams in position?" Admiral Novak, standing beside her, nodded. "All teams report ready." Execute Phase 2. Across Council space, human operatives activated devices that interfered with the ancient FTL network. The effect was immediate. Council reinforcements suddenly found themselves stranded in transit, unable to reach Sol. The Council ships that had already arrived opened fire, their weapons formidable but predictable. The human fleet responded with evasive maneuvers and counterattacks that revealed 2 centuries of tactical innovation. "They're trying to regroup," Eli reported, studying the tactical display. "Their formation suggests they're preparing for a final assault on Earth." "Not today," Zara said firmly. "All ships, implement the Chimera Protocol." The human fleet suddenly split into smaller, faster formations that seemed to shift and change configuration as they moved. The Council ships' targeting systems, designed to predict conventional movement patterns, failed spectacularly. One by one, the Council vessels were disabled or destroyed. The few that remained operational retreated to the edge of the system. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Council flagship," the communications officer announced. The main screen activated to show a familiar face. A Valoran, silver-skinned and multi-limbed, though not the same individual who had condemned humanity centuries before. "This is High Counselor Tarek. I demand an explanation for this unprovoked attack." Zara stepped forward, her expression firm. "Unprovoked? You imprisoned an entire species on their homeworld. You've been systematically eliminating civilizations across the galaxy. There is nothing unprovoked about our response. Those are internal Council matters," Tarek replied dismissively. "Matters beyond human understanding." "We understand perfectly," Admiral Novak said, joining Zara. "We understand tyranny when we see it." "The containment of humanity was necessary," Tarek insisted. "Your species was deemed too dangerous." "And you were right to fear us," Zara interrupted. "Not because we are inherently violent, but because we recognize injustice when we see it, and we refuse to accept it." She activated a display showing data the Phoenix's descendants had gathered over centuries. "We have documented 43 cases of genocide committed by the Council against emerging civilizations. We have transmitted this evidence throughout the galaxy. Your empire of fear ends today." Tarek's silver skin rippled with what might have been anger or fear. "You cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Council." "We already have," Admiral Novak replied. "Your FTL network will remain disabled until you agree to our terms. The containment of Earth ends permanently. The Council will acknowledge humanity's independence and our right to establish relations with other species, and you will face a tribunal for the genocides you've committed." The negotiations that followed lasted weeks, but the outcome was never really in doubt. With their technological advantage demonstrated and their FTL network compromised, the Council had no choice but to agree to human terms. 1 year later, Representatives from Earth and the return fleet stood together on the newly established Galactic Assembly Station, where the former Council species now shared power with humanity and several other species that had been on the Council's list for containment or elimination. Zara, now serving as the first human High Representative, addressed the Assembly. 200 years ago, humanity was deemed too dangerous to join the galactic community, too unpredictable, too innovative. Today, those same qualities have created a more just galaxy for all species. She gestured to the viewing port, where ships of various designs moved peacefully through space. We do not seek to rule through fear, as the Council did. We seek to lead through example, to protect the right of all intelligent species to develop according to their own path, to ensure that no civilization faces extinction simply for having the potential for greatness. As the Assembly erupted in approval, Zara gazed out at the stars. They no longer seemed ominous. They looked like home. Humanity had not merely returned, they had transformed the galaxy.